Right. So, looks like it's working kind of it. At least I hope so. Um, how is the mic? Is it all right? Do I still have to mess with it a little? I've been trying to get it to work longest time now, and I think I finally got it to the point audible. So we're gonna see how it goes. But yeah, let's get straight to the point, shall we? It has been a while since I have streamed. That is entirely my fault. I apologize for that. I have been working on I've been working on a couple things on the background to try to increase the stream quality as well as the video quality, as well as a couple personal projects that I've been trying to get finished. Most of that is good, out of the way. We can expect videos to start popping up a little bit more often. At least I hope. I'm still in the middle of moving around a couple things, so it might take me a while, but I expect to get back into video production at least at the end of the month. Perfect. It looks like you guys can hear me perfectly, and chat is working, which is something that only works. Sensitivity is too low. Yeah, that might be a problem. I have to take a look into it. Sometimes it just... Alright, let me take a look at the noise gate. Alright, let's see. I think that might work a little bit better. Anywho, that's something that I'm gonna have to fix in the background. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's start with this, shall we? There has been quite a lot of things happening in Genshin. Unfortunately, a lot of those I have missed, which is not ideal. I know that I've pretty much missed almost the entirety of the current event that's going on right now. I'm not even super sure if I'm going to be able to finish it. Nonetheless, there's quite a lot of things that we can talk about that I haven't properly seen. And with that, we're going to be talking about the following discussion topics for today. We're going to be talking about Hu Tao. She has been out for pretty much a week at this point, and there is quite a lot of things to talk about her, so we're going to get into that in a bit. Then we're also going to be talking about the 1.4 events that have been announced, as well as a little bit of the things that we can gather from that information. Probably one of the more interesting ones is the prospect of skins for Genshin. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be talking about, because during one of the presentations we were shown an image that has been floating around in leaks that we originally thought was for a KFC event. But as it turns out, the KFC event was only the glider. So we're going to be talking about that one for a bit. That's going to be at the end of the stream, however. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's talk about the current president of Wanshong Funeral Parlor and the boss of Shangli, Hu Tao. So, Hu Tao, Hu Tao, Hu Tao. There is quite a lot of things to talk about her. She is probably one of the more unique characters that we've gotten so far. Not so much on her skill set itself, but all these small interactions that it has on the battlefield, if I'm being completely honest. Hu Tao has quite a lot of things going on in the background that make her very interesting to build, very interesting to put into a lot of different teams, and she just has a ton of potential. I did not get her, unfortunately. I have not been able to get her. My current pity is at 72, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure that even if I do everything, I'm not going to be able to guarantee that I get Hu Tao. I'm still going to try to roll for her if I can. Will I ever use her? Probably not, if I'm being 100% honest. I do want her to just meme around, though. As a character, she's insane. She's absolutely insane, do not get me wrong. I'm placing Hu Tao very near Diluc and Klee levels because of all the amount of ridiculous stuff that she can accomplish. She is that good of a character, if I'm being completely honest. But she does have a couple problems, and that's something that I do want to discuss. Zhongli is only a contractor, a freelancer. I thought he had like a proper job. I wasn't aware that he was a contractor. Child C3. Oh my god, imagine. Um, yeah, that's something that I'm gonna have to take into consideration because I do have my pity fairly high, and we do know the reruns are gonna be coming along, which is something that I do also want to talk about. We'll get that in the next topic. For now, I want to center on Hu Tao. Hu Tao. As I was saying, Hu Tao is a very interesting character. Not necessarily because of her skills, which are also fairly interesting, but because of the way that a lot of the math works around Hu Tao. She is probably one of the most complex characters, mathematically speaking. One of the things that makes Hu Tao very difficult and at the same time easy, we'll get into that in a bit, is the fact that her base stats are kind of all over the place. If we take a look at Hu Tao's base stats, she has an insane amount of health, but she has a base attack at level 1 of 8. That is incredibly low. At max level, her base attack is 106. 106. Keep that number in mind. She has 106 base attack. If we compare that to other characters like Diluc has 300. He has over 300. I'm not entirely sure of the proper number. But Hu Tao's base attack is not ideal, which automatically means that giving her attack percent artifacts is not really going to help her at all. Now, normally when you take a look at this would normally be a negative. On Hu Tao, however, it doesn't really matter that much. She has a lot of really good things that are going for her. Mainly that her secret substat is crit damage. Crit damage and crit rate as the secret substats are probably the best thing that any character can have, any offense center character. And for Hu Tao in particular, they come in incredibly handy. One of the reasons why Hu Tao has this low of a base stat is pretty much because of her elemental skills and all of her abilities altogether. She has an insane amount of buffs. So when we take that into consideration, oh, as you mentioned, yeah, in the quest, you can get her to ridiculous attack powers with her elemental skill, the Guide to the Afterlife. This is pretty much the centerpiece of Hu Tao's kit. Attack percentage is a hidden substat. Oh my god, imagine. Essentially, one of the things about Guide to the Afterlife is that it pretty much goes up incredibly high, and I'm pretty sure that most people already know about this part already. But we do need to get into a little bit of the smaller details based on Guide to the Afterlife. It's based around HP, and you can get the amount very heavily and very highly as well. Hu Tao's base HP is ridiculous. This does, however, mean that as it stands right now, Hu Tao is probably the most artifact-dependent character in the game. Can we just go straight to skin? Trust me, I want to talk about that super badly. But it is going to be at the end. So, Guide to the Afterlife, the way that it works is it works very similar to the buffs that we saw from Zhongli. The ability reads the max HP that Hu Tao has, and then grabs a percentage of it and adds it to the attack power. Because of the way that this works, you can get Hu Tao's attack power to insane levels. Since it's entirely based on HP, and Hu Tao can very easily achieve the 50k mark with how high her HP scaling is, it's very easy for Hu Tao to get massive bonuses into this regard and get even more attack power. The current percent scaling for max HP is kind of ridiculous, especially if you have the Staff of Homa. With the Staff of Homa, her signature weapon, Hu Tao becomes insanely powerful, to the point where she's probably very close to Klee levels of insane. Um, Without the Staff of Homa, she does lose quite a bit of power, but it's not enough to consider her a bad character. She is incredibly powerful still, especially with how insane her burst scaling is. When it comes to Guide of the Afterlife, it is probably one of the more interesting skills that we have, just because of this buff, massive buff on and off button that we have. It only lasts for a short amount. It lasts for around 8 seconds, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's 9 seconds. It lasts for 9 seconds, and it has a fairly low cooldown, if I'm being honest, of only 16. She doesn't really have that much of a downtime as we originally thought. It's fairly easy to just switch around when your Guide of the Afterlife is finished in order to go into other characters, and at that point, by the time that you finish switching your characters, you should be back on Hu Tao. Ideally, you kind of want to build around this short downtime for Hu Tao. I would recommend that you go ahead and you pair her with characters that are generally considered very bursty, kind of like the Traveler, Ning Wang, characters that can drop a lot of their damage very quickly in order to take advantage of being at the max efficiency. That's kind of just one of the things that I would recommend for Hu Tao. She has a lot of really good team synergies that work really, really well for her. And because of the way that God of the Afterlife works, it changes all of her stats. So not only does it give her a massive attack bonus, it also changes her normal attacks and her charge attacks, more importantly, to pyro damage. Meaning that, similar to Klee, her charge attacks are pyro damage. And her charge attack scaling is actually very, very high. Even her plunge attacks also get affected by this, by the way, so if you manage to get a albedo elevator with Hu Tao, you can actually imitate Xiao with pyro damage, which is I find to be hilarious. Is it effective? Probably not. Is it funny? Absolutely. Hu Tao is Child, but much better, except for the passive. She is very similar to Child in a lot of those regards, yes. The one thing that makes Hu Tao stand out the most is certainly her charge attack scaling. While Child has the bladed charge attack, which separates the damage into two, Hu Tao has the spear charge attack, which doesn't separate damage. It's just a single blast, and it is a very, very strong blast. When you get the skill higher levels, that's around 200% scaling, which once you apply Melt can go even further, and because it's considered a charge attack, you can stack even more buffs onto it alongside the pyro buffs that you can get. Because of Hu Tao's design, her charge attack is kind of insane. If you manage to get the Melt bonus on Hu Tao's charge attack, it actually has higher scaling than the entirety of Ganyu, of the Ganyu charge attack at tier 2. That is how much scaling we're talking about. It's kinda ridiculous. It's not as high as Klee's. Klee's is significantly higher because she gets her 50% damage bonus, and that's one of the reasons why Klee is so busted, because she gets an additional modifier that no other character in the game has. But Hu Tao can accomplish the same things that Klee can, it's just not in an AoE. Hu Tao is more centered on single target DPS, unless you count her burst, which is kind of AoE, but it is very small. So if we were to take a look at the current characters in the game, I think the top 3 for me, at the very least, when it comes to most consistent high numbers, I would probably have to put Klee, Hu Tao, and Diluc. I actually consider Hu Tao to be stronger than Diluc in her current state. Yeah, that is something that we have to mention, and that is one of the problems that I was going to mention when it comes to Hu Tao. Because of the way the charge attacks work, you can't charge attack without initiating the first attack on the attack chain. And because of that, it makes it very hard to melt her charge attacks properly, which is a problem that Klee doesn't have, Hu Tao does. Nevertheless, if you manage to make it properly, the damage is insane. So don't worry, we're going to talk about the downsides. I want to talk about the upsides for now. This potential is honestly very crazy. As you mentioned, it doesn't come for free. But taking into account all of these numbers, and when you put a lot of the multipliers, you can see why Hu Tao is ranked so highly. She has so much power that it's very difficult to not place her anywhere but S+. Alongside that though, we do have to talk about the negatives, which, the one that we mentioned, because of the way the charge attacks work, it can be very easy to lose your melt proc if you're standing too close to an enemy, which makes it very hard for Hu Tao to properly meld every single one of her charge attacks, which is precisely what she wants to do. Originally I thought that a character like Kea was going to end up being Hu Tao's most powerful support, and while that still is kind of the case, the fact that she has to normal attack first, if you pair her with Kea, more often than not, you will end up losing the melt bonus to the first normal attack. So with that in mind, I've kind of come to a conclusion that her best melt support is probably going to end up being Diona, with Ganyu coming in second place. Both of them have very relatively low energy bursts that can be cast quickly, and they can apply melt or the cold status to multiple enemies at once in a large area, repeatedly. So with that in mind, that's probably going to be the best case for a charge attack focused Hu Tao. That's not the only build though. There's other builds that we can talk about. I would say Diona is probably the better one, mainly because she's a healer as well. So having her in the group is also going to be very helpful. And if you have Diona at C6, you can get the 200% elemental 200 extra elemental mastery. The fact that she's a healer does kind of complicate things though, which is why some people might prefer Ganyu. Ganyu does not heal Hu Tao out of the range of her passive. So she might end up being better in a lot of cases, but Ganyu is also 5-star. So try to build with what you have. A Chinese player used Mona, Hu Tao, Bennett, and cleared Abyss in 6 seconds. And Sucrose. I can see that. I can see that. Hu Tao has probably one of the highest ceilings in the game, in a very similar manner to Tartaglia. They both have insane potential when it comes to the way their abilities work. They are just very hard to play in those specific scenarios, which is why there are also other builds that I would recommend for less intense cases. As you mentioned, if there's a Chinese player that's doing one-shot compositions, I can imagine that with Bennett, that's going to be insane. Bennett can provide massive bonuses to everything. Sucrose can provide massive bonuses to everything. And having Mona, that gives Stellaris Phantasm, and if you can apply Wet onto an enemy, you can then Vaporize with Hu Tao, which will increase her already very high scaling even further. I can see that team being insane. Mona, Sucrose, and Bennett are just insane as they are. Add to that any other character they can take advantage of the already high combo, and you have yourself an insane composition. For me personally, I already have Tartaglia, so that's who I place instead of Hu Tao. But yeah, it is kind of crazy. She can go into a lot of one-shot compositions. Can she go as high as Mona? I think Mona is still the highest. The highest single damage that we can get so far. Hu Tao might actually be able to go higher. I would have to look into the math. I think Hu Tao might actually be able to go higher. If we have Diona. I'll have to look into that. I think Diona, Bennett, Sucrose, and Hu Tao might actually be able to go higher than the current Mona limit. But yeah, that's kind of the thing about Hu Tao. She has an insane ceiling. She's not the easiest to play the most effectively, but even when you're not playing her the most effectively, she enables a lot of compositions. being able to have Pyro in every single one of your attacks for 9 seconds, even if it's a low duration, does help out quite a lot. And her energy generation, while not ideal, is also not bad. She can generate a fairly decent amount of energy to keep herself up quite often. And her passives are kind of insane as well. Xiao C6 and Hu Tao. Hu Tao at C0, I would imagine. Yeah, Hu Tao is just ridiculous. Xiao at C6, let's see. Xiao at C6, if he hits multiple enemies, he's able to cast Lemon Static Wind Cycling multiple times. Lemon Static Wind Cycling has about 700% scaling. Since it has no cooldown on the initiation, you should be able to spam it. Yeah, that would actually be some of the highest DPS in the game, wouldn't it? Huh. Yeah, it would end up being very, very highly. You would need multiple enemies for that, though. Which, I guess, it's Genshin. It's not that difficult to get multiple enemies. So they just forgot Ganyu like that. Ganyu is still really, really good. Um, I've talked about Ganyu a couple times. I'm actually working on finishing the Ganyu video that I've been working on for like a month. Um, there's a lot of very strong characters in Genshin now. It's kind of insane how many strong characters we have. One of the things that we also have to keep in mind when we're kind of considering the strength of characters is how well they pair with others. Because a single character, while a single character might be very strong by themselves, if the team around them does not synergize well, you're actually going to be getting massive DPS losses when it comes to that. So it's always important to take a note at all the positives and all the negatives, as well as which characters you have on you. Having a single strong character is definitely going to be helpful when it comes to team building, but it's not the most important part. You can make compositions that are ridiculous without having specific characters like Hu Tao, Ganyu, Child, Diluc, or anything of the matter. My current team composition that I'm using, I don't use a single 5-star. I have a team made almost entirely out of free-to-play characters, and that's the team that I love and I go around with. It's honestly not super important to have. Sri actually increases her charge attack quite significantly, and the attack percentage, while not ideal, is pretty nice. The Elemental Mastery is definitely what makes it shine, on Amber in particular. I would not use it on anybody other than Amber. Maybe Fischl, but even Fischl has better options. Depends on what you have, really. I don't think we're approaching power creep so far, because a lot of the characters we've gotten, they're individually strong, but they have weaknesses that kind of keep them in place. Hu Tao herself, she does have some fairly glaring weaknesses, mainly in the way that you play her. Ganyu, while she does quite a lot of things, she can be very slow, and it's very easy to catch her in a position where she won't be able to do a lot of her damage. Xiao is very strong. He's also very mobile. He's very fun to play as well. Xiao doesn't really have many weaknesses other than his element, if I'm being honest. His element makes it kind of difficult to fit him into a lot of compositions. It is possible, though. I would recommend Electric Charge for that. But he kind of has to have... He hogs the spotlight a lot. Hence why he needs to be as strong as he is. It's very difficult to find a weakness in Xiao, if I'm being honest. He has very good AoE, he has insane amount of damage that's likely never going to scale down. It's also never going to scale up, but at the same time, it's never going to go down in any situation. So consistency-wise, he's probably the most consistent DPS. What is the weakness of Klee exactly? That she's small? Well, I mean, that does make it so that she can't fight in water, I guess? Well, realistically, the weakness of Klee is that she's extremely hard to play effectively. She's also not exactly team-dependent, but she does rely on the team a lot to set up melt combos for her. Which is not exactly a proper weakness, it's more of an annoyance of anything. Her only real weakness is that she's difficult to play, if I'm being honest. You know who's really aging like fine wine? Venti. Venti has been very strong from the very beginning. I still think he's a bit overvalued, if I'm being 100% honest. The CC is amazing, though. Nobody can deny the CC. That burst is ridiculous. Xiao feels amazing. Xiao feels amazing to play. There's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration when we're taking a look at characters, because if we just look at the mathematical numbers, we're missing out on a lot of the details, which is not something that I want to do more often than not. Which is why I also put an emphasis on an investment and how difficult it is to actually play the character. Um, so as I'm going to try to bring this back into Hu Tao. Hu Tao, the mathematically best way of playing her is charge attack spam. That is mathematically the best way of playing Hu Tao. However, in a lot of cases, you're not going to be able to charge attack spam properly, which is going to lower your DPS if you build specifically for that. That's probably something that you would only do if you're building a team specific for boss fights. If you want to get more damage out of Hu Tao, I would actually recommend combining her with Xingqiu and just going with a normal attack route. I think that's the way that I've found, or at least that I've been able to see, that Hu Tao works the most efficiently. Now, not so much efficient, probably consistent. That's the better way of putting it. The most consistently. Hu Tao is actually a very, very team-dependent character, if I'm being 100% honest. I haven't talked about her passives quite a bit, and that's something that I want to talk about. She has two passives in particular that are very, very strong, and they kind of synergize and don't synergize together too well. Her first passive is called Flutterby, which means that this is what it does. When the Paramita Populo state, activated by Guide of the Afterlife, ends, all allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao, will have their crit rate increased by 12%. That's actually one of the reasons why I consider Hu Tao to be independently strong, because this is a buff that it gives it to the whole team, and it's a generic buff. So because of this buff, Hu Tao is actually very, very strong. Whether you think of it or not, having Hu Tao as your main DPS means that all of your burst supports are going to have 12% crit rate increase, which is one of the reasons why I actually recommend that you play Hu Tao with high impact supports. I was mentioning Ning Wang, I was mentioning the Traveler, Xingqiu, Official even. Characters that can give Hu Tao that extra oomph, while at the same time dishing out massive damages when Hu Tao is not active. This passive by itself is kinda ridiculous. Think about it this way. You're adding 12% crit rate to every single character. If you have characters like Fischl, if you have characters like Ning Wang, if you have characters that do massive damages in short periods of time, having Hu Tao on the team is actually a fairly powerful increase, especially if those characters pair well with Hu Tao. I think, I don't know, I would love to play Hu Tao, Ning Wang, Fischl, probably Diona as the last team member. I think that feels like a very strong team that I would like to have. Then again, my Ning Wang is C6, so I'm very biased. Do you think her C4 stacks with her Ascension passive? I've actually not tested out multiple interactions when it comes to constellations. I don't have her. I'm mostly able to go based on what I get from Honey and what I see from videos. Let's see, what is her C4? Let's see, C4. Upon defeating an enemy affected by a Blood Blossom that Hu Tao applied herself, all nearby allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao herself, will have their crit rate increased by 12%. I don't see why this wouldn't stack. This seems like something that stacks. We'd have to test it though. MiHoYo's known for having interesting mechanics. We'll leave it at that. She enables swap comps? Yeah, 100%. I think swap compositions are easily the strongest with Hu Tao. Being able to just go around and just spam a lot of abilities over and over again, being able to generate a lot of energy in the process, while at the same time channeling all that energy into all of your allies, she's very, very strong. Anywho, I'm getting very, very distracted, and I have limited time for this one, so let me get back on track. Hu Tao. She is kind of insane, if I'm being honest. I haven't even talked about the other passives that she have, and one of the reasons why she honestly feels as good as she does. Sanguine Rogue. This is her second Ascension passive, the one that you get at Ascension 6, I think. Or was it 4? I don't remember. One of the Ascensions. When Hu Tao's HP is equal to or less than 50%, her pyro damage is increased by 33%. This is a massive bonus. This is kind of insane. If you think about it, the maximum damage bonus that you can get from a full legendary artifact, if I remember correctly, it's only like 39%. Being able to get 33 just from being at low health, something that Hu Tao can accomplish fairly easily after a little bit of time, is very, very powerful. If you manage to get proper team compositions built around her, you can get her to a point where not only is she going to be very difficult to kill, but she's also going to be at a point where she can stay on that 50% thresh mark very easily. One of the ways that you can accomplish this is actually combining her with Xing Cho and a shield enabler. Zhongli is probably one of the better ones, if I'm being honest. Although, if you don't have Zhongli, I would recommend either Diona, Xin Yan, heck, even Ning Wang. With how powerful you can get some of the shields in this game, I wouldn't have any problem with you using Ning Wang as a shield enabler, even though it would probably just be a crystallized shield. Ideally, probably Diona. I think Diona is probably her best shield enabler. Diona or Baido? Baido might be a bit better. But if you want to use Baido as a shield enabler, you're going to need a lot of energy recharge and her C1. Let's see. Would you say Hu Tao and Venti for new players at start, or Hu Tao and Venti? Let's see. For a new player, let's assume that we have a new player, and that you're willing to give them any 5-star they could possibly get. Which 5-star would it be from the upcoming banners? Hu Tao and Venti, or Venti and Child? If I'm being honest, I think Hu Tao and Venti would probably be better. Hu Tao by herself is really, really powerful for free-to-play players, in particularly because all of her damage and everything that she does, she gets that at C0. However, on the same vein, she's currently probably the character that relies on substats the most. So, keeping that in mind, I still think that she's strong enough to the point where she's probably more worth than Child. Child is a very expensive character. He does a lot of damage, but you need so many specific things. Hu Tao only realistically needs HP, a little bit of crit damage, a little bit of crit rate, and she's good to go. I'm pretty sure that the White Tassel, which is a 3-star weapon, works really well with her. It's not the best weapon. The craftable option in the Prototype Star Glitter, I'm still going to call it Prototype Grudge. It's my Grudge. Also works incredibly well with Hu Tao. I think Hu Tao would probably be, out of all the options that you have right now, I think Hu Tao would probably be priority number 1. Venti would be priority number 2. Because yes, Venti is insane. He will do incredibly well, Abyss, all of that stuff. But the one that can flex into the most options, the one that will give you the most benefit immediately, will probably be Hu Tao. I would definitely avoid Child for new players. I would probably just avoid Child altogether unless you plan to spend really heavily in trying to get his best equipment, Rust, 5-star weapons, etc., etc. So yeah, in this particular option, Hu Tao Venti would probably be better. Hu Tao plus Child, really good. Here's the thing about Hu Tao plus Child. Child can bape a lot of hits. Hu Tao can increase his crit rate. And the way that you would use it in this particular scenario is that you would actually have a burst spam Child. whose only objective is to make sure that he can vaporize every single hit that Hu Tao does. So what you would end up doing is you would end up using pretty much the entirety of Hu Tao's kit, switching into Child. Child goes ahead and he bursts, ideally in both stance. Then he switches into his own stance, goes ahead and does the entirety of his own thing. Then he switches back into Hu Tao once his cooldown is down, and you just keep on switching these two over and over again, pretty much bursting in unison. Because the way that it does, at the end of everything, Child is going to be vaporizing his burst, which he regains 50% of his energy when he uses. Then you switch into Hu Tao. Hu Tao can now vaporize her own burst, which is very powerful as well. And you can just keep on doing this combination. I particularly don't like it, if I'm being completely honest. It's strong. It's very strong. I don't like it. It also helps that Hu Tao gets her bonus, which increases Child's crit rate. Child really likes crit rate, so it's a natural synergy. That's more than anything. It's just a natural synergy that covers both of their weaknesses, quote unquote. I still prefer swap compositions for Hu Tao. I would probably rather have a Mona than a Child. If you can't fit into that category, Xing Cho, I kind of would still rather have than a Child, if I'm being honest. Both are pretty good though. It's a pretty good combo. There would be no room for a two-person team. That's one of the reasons why I don't like it, as you mentioned. I'd rather have my full team doing damage than just Hu Tao and Child. But who knows? If we ever get a place where you can only bring two characters, Child Hu Tao might be the two characters that I would like to choose. Although there's probably other very strong combos that you could also bring into that. Zhongli and Albedo are a very strong combo. It might not look like they have a lot of synergy together, but they do. More than anything, it's just Albedo's consistency. Albedo is such a consistent support that anybody that you pair him with is just going to be amazing with. Add to that the multiple amounts of energy that you can generate with Zhongli and Albedo. Their bursts are very spammy. Having both of them together, it's a strong combo. It's not bad by any means. It's an expensive combo, not a bad one. I would probably still consider other options though. It really does depend on what you want. For a generalist team, just a team that you want to bring everywhere, I think Albedo, Zhongli will probably do very well. If you're going to be doing boss fights, Zhongli and Traveler will probably do better. Zhongli Ningguang will probably do better. If you're going to be doing exploration and domains, Zhongli Traveler also works really well. Then again, Albedo Zhongli also works really well. Frankly, just play what you want. Zhongli is so strong, Albedo is so strong independently, that it doesn't really matter. Back on track though. Hu Tao. I've yet to talk about her burst. Hu Tao's burst is... it's very, very strong. It does more damage if you have low skill, if you have low damage or low health. Essentially, if you're at the 50% threshold, it does slightly more scaling, and that extra scaling also gets the benefit of the passive that she has, which can increase the damage of this burst quite massively. As I mentioned very early on, she also has crit damage as her main substat, or the secret substat, which increases the potential of the skill even further once you start adding crit rate. This skill, if you know how Mona's Stellaris Phantasm works, this is that, but for Pyro. And that alone should give you enough of an idea of how insanely powerful this skill is. Mona's is slightly better because it has better scaling, and it has a stronger percentage multiplier, but Hu Tao's is not that far behind. If you would place Hu Tao in any one-shot composition, she'll probably do just as well as Mona, which is why I consider Hu Tao to be one of the more flexible characters that we have right now. She is a very good DPS. As a support, she has a fairly powerful ability to do so as well, especially for swap compositions. And her burst is insane. It is not a team heal, unfortunately, as I originally thought it was going to be. It is a self-heal only. It is percentage HP. It depends on how many enemies you hit. The AoE is not massive. It's fairly decent, but it's not massive. Do I have Q and A at the end of this stream too? It depends if we're gonna have enough time. I'm not entirely sure. I do have to do quite a couple things. Honestly, there's just so much that I want to talk about. I wish I had the time. I'm in the middle of moving to a different house right now, so I'm probably not going to be able to do streams for a while until I get internet on the other house. Which is one of the reasons why you're probably going to be getting a lot more videos done in the upcoming weeks, because most of the stuff I won't be able to do. So I'm probably just going to focus entirely on videos. Nonetheless, I might do a couple questions at the end, if we have enough time. I've kind of been wasting a lot of time on Hu Tao. The healing of the burst is insanely powerful. It's based on how many enemies you hit, I'm pretty sure. So, since it's also based on Hu Tao's max HP, that just means that you have to hit a couple enemies and you're good. You can heal her to pretty much max in just a couple of things. One of the things that you have to keep in mind though is you want to be able to be casting the burst whenever you're at under the 50% mark, which is kind of weird because you want your Hu Tao to be at low health, and Hu Tao has massive defense and massive health, so she's very hard to kill. It's kind of difficult to actually get the max benefit of Hu Tao because of how safe you can actually be with her. Her charge attack, it acts in a very similar way to Xiao's elemental skill, and it is very fast as well. You can realistically use it as a dodge in order to get out of a lot of the enemy's attacks, especially if you know the attacks by heart. The place where this is easiest is probably against bosses. You also have the special dash, which is... I find it more fun. I know a lot of people don't like it. I like it a lot. Here's a question. Who should a new player coming to 1.4 summon for? Venti or Child? And why is it Venti? Okay. It's actually a very difficult question, because there's a lot of things that you have to consider here. For a completely new player that's just getting into Genshin, the main priority should be to get a team that works effectively for them. In a lot of cases, most people will say Venti, because Venti is very easy to build. He has a lot of very good things going for him. There's a lot of skills that go really, really well for Venti. So that's why a lot of people are going to be saying Venti. He's easy to build. He has high potential. He has a very high ceiling. You can get a lot of the things that you need for the game from a Venti. However, that's not the only thing that you have to consider. If this is a completely new player, you have to consider the 4-stars as well. Currently, I don't think we know what 4-stars are going to be coming with the Venti banner, and we also don't know what 4-stars are going to be coming with the Child banner, or am I wrong on that one? Child is incredibly costly to build as well. If I'm being completely honest, if you're a completely new player and you don't plan on spending money or anything of the sort, it might be best to wait and see what 4-stars you have available in each banner and then go for that. Because the realistic chances that you're going to be getting one of these two characters is very, very low. If you're going to be re-rolling, I would probably re-roll for Venti or any 5-star, in all honesty. Any 5-star that you can get is probably going to be the best case. It's gonna be very hard because Child also has Rosaria. Child has Rosaria in the banner, and the likelihood that you're gonna be able to get a Rosaria from the Child banner without getting Child is also pretty high. It's kind of a difficult situation, but this is what I would do if I had a friend that wanted to start Genshin in 1.4. What I would probably do is I'd probably tell that friend to re-roll on the Venti banner until he gets a 5-star. If he gets Venti, perfect. If he gets any of the other 5, perfect. All of them are insane. Um, then I would probably tell him to save all of the Primogems for the Child banner and hope to get Rosaria. As soon as he gets Rosaria, that's probably where he stops. Because Rosaria, I expect to be one of the best free-to-play characters that we're gonna get, period. She looks like she's gonna be really, really good with a lot of team synergy. She looks like she's gonna be insane when it comes to her physical DPS potential, even her cryo DPS if you manage to get Chongyun. Um, and the Crescent Pike looks like it's gonna work really, really well for her, as well as the Prototype Star Glitter. So that's what I would do for a free-to-play player. If they're somebody that they're willing to spend a lot of money, I would probably tell them to wait for a different banner, if I'm being honest. I don't think Venti's worth spending that much. I don't think Child is worth spending that much for either. Watch Venti have Bennett. Oh my god, if the Venti banner has Bennett, tell him to spend everything in that one. He'd be getting 2 5-stars at that point. But that's kind of one of the reasons why you would go into it. It depends a lot on what your friend is going to do, how much your friend is willing to spend. There's a lot of factors, but that's probably what I would do. Roll on the Venti banner until you get a 5-star. Try to get Rosaria, and then save up until he can get a different character that'll fit well with his team, depending on what he gets. That's kind of the thing with Genshin. It's really hard to just say one particular thing because it's very RNG dependent. And in a lot of cases, it honestly does depend on what you end up getting. It's not something like, I can't just tell you, go for these specific characters, because for one, that would be irresponsible of me. The chances that you would get specific characters is very low. And two, more often than not, it doesn't really matter. The game is not precisely the hardest thing in the world, and a lot of the most important factors aren't going to end up being your artifacts and how well you can combine your teams together. It's not really going to be dependent on the characters themselves, because every single character is strong in their own regards. It's going to end up being how well you can put the resources into getting strong compositions, into changing those things. Over the course of the game, you're going to end up getting most of the 4-star characters in the game. And a lot of 4-star characters are very strong by themselves. So, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about team compositions. I would just go about it, see what he gets, and then based on that, save resources for characters that would work well with the characters that he gets at the start. That's probably what I would do. But it doesn't have a C6. Well, between having Venti and not having Venti, you probably want Venti. But realistically, it's not the end of the world. Venti's very strong, especially in Abyss. But it's not like you can't play the game without a Venti. He's just a nice thing to have. He's not a necessity by any means. Venti is the cheapest character to max because he only has C5. Yeah, I guess you're right on that one. I mean, who knows? Maybe if you have a Hu Tao or a pure Pyro team, you might want the C6. I would not recommend it. Albedo is a lot cheaper, yeah. He only has a C2. But yeah. Out of that one, I went a lot of everywhere. I'm probably gonna have to make a more decent video when it comes to Hu Tao. She's really strong. There's a lot of things that make Hu Tao very, very interesting. Um, I also really like the character design. If I'm being honest, Hu Tao's character design just feels right, and the play style is also really fun. I really like characters like Xiao that you can move around really quickly in the battlefield. That's one of the reasons why I like Zhongli so much. I like Xiao a lot, and Hu Tao, you can also do that with her charge attack spam. She just feels nice to play. She just feels really, really nice, really intuitive. And she's also very, very strong. Very, very strong. Staff of Homa. Yeah. That's definitely a discussion that we're gonna have to have at some point. Um, it's very clear that Hu Tao is meant to have the Staff of Homa as the weapon that you want. I kind of really don't like that they're making weapons that are so specific. But I guess it's whatever. It's not the only weapon that you can use, so I don't know. It's just there's this entire controversy with the Staff of Homa right now that I don't really want to get into. I'm already running out of time, and there's a lot of things that I want to discuss. Do you think you can make another video like the Zhongli first video? That was pretty fun to watch. I've been thinking about doing videos like that. The main thing that has been keeping me away from that has been a lot of IRL stuff that has kept me from doing a lot of the videos that I want to do. That's almost finished, thankfully. Um, I have been thinking about doing videos like that. I'm probably going to do a couple based on upcoming characters. The thing about videos like that one is that most of the information is coming directly from leaks. And talking about leak information is not only something that MiHoYo doesn't like, but it's also kind of dangerous because one of the things that I don't want to do, one of the things that I would despise the most, would be to give you false information regarding a character and to overhype you to get a character, and then what happened with Zhongli happens, where the character gets completely changed and completely destroyed um, before release. That's kind of one of the things that I really want to avoid. So if I do make videos like that, I'm probably only going to make them like 1 week before the character gets released. Once we have generally good information on how the character is going to be. But I definitely have a. I definitely have a lot of things that I want to talk about. Um, when it comes to the videos that I want to make, there are so many things that I want to make. I want to make short 1 minute videos explaining different artifacts. I want to explain different weapons in short minutes like that. I want to have like a recap for updates, a short one as well. I want to do all of the tutorial videos that I've been doing. I want to do a tier list video. I want to have more gameplay when it comes to Genshin. I want to have a lot of stuff that I want to do. It's just I haven't had the time, I haven't had the energy, I haven't had the production capabilities, which I do now. Thankfully, I do have the production capabilities to do it now, so I want to put a lot of things into motion. I just need to get the time, and I just need to get the ability to do so. I already have the ability to do so. Now I just need to get the time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One of the reasons why I know that you're grateful now because of the buffs. One of the reasons why I made that video in the first place was because I saw a lot of people not really that interested in Zhongli. And at the time, I was like, why are people not interested in this character? This character sounds absolutely busted. So I started doing a bit of math, and he kept on sounding incredibly busted. So I went ahead and I pointed out all the details that I had found. I put Shang Ling as a stand-in when it came to the normal attack damage, because she was the only spear that we had, and as a 4-star, I imagined Shang Li's stats would look similar. So when I did that, I went ahead and I did the math, and it ended up being very, very strong, like insanely strong. Um, Pretty much what we have right now. So that's why I made that video. I never in my life expected that they would do what they did to him. Uh, it it was quite a thing. It was definitely quite the thing. I don't want to make that mistake again, but I also understand that people really like that sort of videos where I have a proper explanation of what I can expect the character to be, how strong I can see it, and have it be in a more concise manner rather than the live streams where I kind of go all over the place. I'm definitely looking into making more things like that. I just want to be a bit more careful, and I want to be able to do more research before I go into stuff like that. He is better than my analysis now. Yeah, that. My God, I never expected that they would buff the resonance damage. That's still the thing that baffles me the most. I know a lot of people don't use the resonance damage to its fullest potential, but if you manage to see somebody drop the Traveler's Burst and a perfect resonant pillar in the middle against an enemy, that enemy gets deleted. It is probably the funniest thing to see because you just see the pulse, the game literally lags from all the numbers, and the enemy's dead. I think it's not so much that people were not super hyped about Zhongli. His design alone made him super hyped. Um, it was more that people were saying he was not going to be up to par, which he ended up not being up to par. Mostly because they cut up a lot of his attacks pretty down. Zhongli was incredibly hyped, and I feel a bit bad because I feel like I also influenced into that. So yeah, I don't know, just a weird thing. The Hoyo advertisement didn't help at all. That trailer makes him look like an absolute god, which he is. He is now as well. Nevertheless, still have a couple things that I want to talk about, and I think it's probably now a good time to move on to that, shall we? 1.4. There's a lot of things to talk about here. Let me just go ahead and. So we're going to be moving to the next topic of discussion. 1.4. If I remember correctly, the Zhongli trailer was actually shown in television in some places, which I find hilarious. We all love Daddy Zhongli now. I still liked him even when he was in his nerf state. His gameplay was just super fun. It's still super fun. I'm also considering waiting for the rerun in order to get him, even though I probably wouldn't be able to fit him into many teams, just because the investment is kind of high at this point. My teams are mostly set in stone, so getting a new character to fit into another team is kind of difficult. I already have 2 teams for Abyss, and I already have a team for boss killing. I just don't have the artifacts. I just don't have the resources to level them all up. So adding new characters into the mix is probably not something that I should be doing. I should just be focusing on the characters that I have, which is what I think I'm gonna end up doing. I'm probably just gonna be focusing on weapons from now on. But anywho, 1.4. We have quite a lot of things to talk about 1.4. 1.4 is pretty much going to be entirely centered on events and the rerun banners. As we have seen, we're going to be getting a rerun of Venti, and we're going to be getting a rerun of Child. In addition to that, we're also going to be getting Rosaria, which is one of the characters that I have personally been most excited for, just because of the way that her kit is centered. Now that we've actually seen the kit in action, she looks really fun to play, if I'm being honest. Her burst looks very strong, her elemental skill looks very strong, her normal attacks look the strongest out of anything. Her ability to work effectively as a DPS is gonna be insane. She has access to the Frostwalker set, for starters, in addition to access to the Crescent Pike, which seems like it's going to be fairly effective since she has 2 additional hits that are split into 2. It's not going to be the most effective. We're not going to get Shangling right here, but we are going to be getting a very, very strong character that can also take good advantage of the Crescent Pike. So I'm excited for Rosaria. If I do pull for a character, it's probably going to be Rosaria. Also because I have Child and he's part of the team, so if I get the C2, it's whatever. Although, if I'm being honest, I'm probably gonna save my pity for Albedo. If I don't get Hu Tao. I'm still gonna be trying to pull for Hu Tao. Anywho. 1.4. Will the new 4-star weapons be banner exclusive again? Oh, I actually don't know. I think they will be. I think they might be. Oh, that's gonna suck. They're probably going to be. Are we going to talk about the Abyss Herald and how it's a crime that he's not going to be in the world as a boss enemy? Well, the thing is, he's probably going to end up being a boss for Abyss, if I'm being honest. We've already seen that they want to rework Abyss, and I think this is more like a thing that they're working on, and they want to introduce it into the story. So we're kind of just getting a sneak peek. More than likely, he's just an enemy that they've already finished, that they're going to implement in the new Abyss. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this. It's kind of like a teaser of what's to come. So I wouldn't be too worried about not fighting the Abyss Herald anytime soon. This seems more like a marketing strategy than anything else. A smart marketing strategy, especially one of the ways that you get people excited for the story, which is one of the strong points of Genshin. Not that the story's strong, but that the story's entertaining and a lot of people are interested in it. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. We're going to talk a little bit about it. If I'm being honest, there's probably a lot of things that are more interesting at the moment. It is going to be a very interesting event. We're going to be getting the Abyss Herald, which is going to be that new boss that we saw. We're only going to be able to fight him once. As I mentioned, probably because he's going to end up being a more recurring boss in something like Abyss. That's what I'm expecting. Oh, some of the weapons are going to be in the shop. That's going to be nice to hear. If they put those weapons in the shop, that's probably going to fix a lot of problems, honestly. I hope they do the same for the Lithic weapons. Yeah, the bow. Meadow, you make a good point. The bow. That bow. My god. I really hope it's not going to be another Staff of Homa. If it ends up being another Staff of Homa, I'm gonna be slightly worried for the future of Genshin. What's your opinion on Hu Tao? Where does she rank between Ganyu, Xiao, and Diluc? I think it depends. It depends on the situations. I think she is very consistent. As consistent as Xiao. She doesn't have as much DPS as Ganyu. She does have as much damage as Ganyu, though. Although that damage is spread out and it's less AoE again, as I mentioned. She honestly kind of feels like a combination of Diluc and Xiao. As far as strength is concerned, that's going to depend entirely on the team, though. She's not as independently strong as Xiao, but she's not as reliant on teams as Diluc. She's very, very strong. Weapon power creep. Yeah, that's something that we're definitely going to have to talk about at some point, aren't we? A lot of the weapons that we can see so far are definitely being overtuned, if I do say so. And considering how the weapon banner has now been shown that it can be, where they can actively change a lot of the percentages to very, very heavily go against the players. I don't know how I feel about that one. That one just feels cheap. I'm hoping that they would see the problems that the Staff of Homa had, and they would go against it. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. More than anything, from a business sense, you follow where the money is, and the Staff of the Homeless definitely made them quite a bit of money. How's your take on Child now since his rerun is coming? Has your opinions changed on him after the four-piece set now? I think Child is still pretty much in the same position that he was when I did my original video. The new set definitely helped him quite a bit. He's not as heavily... He doesn't need very specific sets as much as he used to. The new set does make him a lot stronger individually, especially for the burst support build, um, which is not the build that I like, but nonetheless it is fairly strong. He's still very high in investment. Very, very high in investment. You need to get the rust for him, you need to get very specific weapons. He is probably the most expensive character that we have right now. Not only from actual money standpoint, but also from resources that you need to put into him. You need to get him a specific weapon, you need to make sure that it's highly leveled, you need to make sure that the artifact sets are perfect for him. You need to be able to take care of the cooldown, whether that be because you have the C6 or whether you fix that through team building. Either or, it's gonna be difficult. He's still probably very, very strong. I just feel like there are other options that will give you the same result with less pain. So yeah, now that we've brought the weapon into consideration, Elegy of the End, I believe that's the name. Yes. Let me go ahead and pull it up in Honey. Let's see, Honey, weapons, bow. Elegy for the End. We've talked about this weapon a couple times in the Discord chat, and yeah, essentially, for starters, at base, it already increases elemental mastery. It also has energy recharge as one of its main substats, and whenever an elemental skill or an elemental burst of the character wielding the weapon hits an opponent, that character gains a Sigil of Remembrance. This effect can be triggered once every 0.2 seconds and can be triggered even if said character is not on the field. When you possess 4 Sigils of Remembrance, all of them will be consumed, and all nearby party members will obtain the Millennial Movement Farewell Song effect for 12 seconds. Millennial Movement Farewell Song increases elemental mastery by another 100 and increases attack by 20%. Once this effect is triggered, you will not gain Sigils of Remembrance for 20 seconds. Essentially, what this means is that if you have a bow user and you equip them with this, and they have an elemental skill that can attack an enemy multiple times, think Fischl, think Benti, or Benti's is the burst, but whatever. Think Fischl, think Benti, probably two of the strongest supports that we have available. They will now increase the elemental mastery of the team by 160. If you have seen my video on Albedo, you know how powerful elemental mastery can be on a team. Having a weapon that gives you a stronger version of Albedo's passive, while at the same time increasing your attack by the same amount that the Noblesse does, while also increasing movement speed, is insane. This is a very, very strong weapon. One that's very tempting to get. Realistically, it's a game-changing weapon, and there's not many like that. Which is why I'm worried. That's precisely why I'm worried. Are we going to see another Staff of Homa? Or are we going to see something that's less aggressive in the want department? That's kind of what I'm worried about. Because the weapon sounds incredibly tempting. I think when I look at this weapon, this weapon was clearly designed for Venti, but it can be abused by so many characters. It's kind of hard to... It's honestly kind of hard to justify its existence. It's very, very strong. Look, we thought the Crescent Pike was strong. This thing is insane. As I mentioned in the Albedo video, Elemental Mastery is very, very strong because it's very hard to get. And the impact that it has on multipliers is quite hefty. when you take a look into the multipliers that Elemental Mastery gives you for Melt and Vaporize in particular, the multipliers can get incredibly high. So having multiple sources of Elemental Mastery in the game, it can be very, very easy to break a lot of the systems in Genshin with this much Elemental Mastery. Think about just giving it to Venti and putting Venti instead of Sucrose on the one-shot team. Heck, you can probably just put it on other characters as well. It's a pretty massive increase. It's not small. It is not small in the slightest. The fact that the character equipped with a weapon does not have to be is absolutely insane. Yes, you are completely correct on that one. This is crazy. Characters like Fischl can already keep their elemental skill on the field indefinitely, very, very, very easily. It also gives energy recharge, which is another thing that makes that easier to accomplish. In addition to that, it gives elemental mastery, not only to you, but also to the entire team. It's an insane weapon. It's giving you multiple multipliers in the things that you want. Energy recharge is always going to be important in a lot of characters, especially bow users that rely very heavily on their skills. Unless you're Ganyu. And Elemental Mastery is just insane. For any character. It's difficult to justify, in all honesty, it's not. It's a very, very strong weapon. And I don't think it would be that much of a problem if this was a passive on a character, but it's on a weapon. And it's not only on a weapon, on a 5-star weapon on a limited banner. I think that's what makes the passive so bad. Not the fact that it exists, the fact that it's being something that's sold. I think that's what makes it so bad. If it was like an event weapon, like the Festering Desire, I don't think anybody would be complaining. It's just the fact that it's being sold in the way that it is, and that we just had the Homa incident. That's kind of the thing that cements it as such a dangerous thing to put, because it's setting not a precedent that I like. That was rank 1, yes. I was reading rank 1. That was rank 1. They just want to make Amber S tier DPS. It's the Homa incident. Let's be real. It was kind of a massive marketing incident. It's things like that that you study when you take a look at marketing problems and just the way that you sell stuff. So I'm gonna call it the Homa incident. It also sounds dramatic as hell, even though it's the dumbest thing ever. What is rank 5? I don't have the stats for rank 5 at the moment. I think somebody was saying that it was like 200 EM and 40% attack. It's I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna have to do, but they're probably gonna have to change their back end a little bit. Especially now that there's quite a change for the legality of a lot of these gacha systems. So yeah, they might want to take a look into that, because this is kind of breaking into a lot of those things that are starting to gather a lot more attention from the legal side. Let's see. Elegy of the End. Where is the max version? Here it is. Okay, so at maximum refinement, it increases elemental mastery by 120. That's for the character. And when the elemental skills or elemental burst is triggered, this appears to be the same. It increases elemental mastery by another 200% and increases the attack by 40%. Yeah, that's pretty massive. 320 for a single character. Yeesh. That's a lot. That is a lot. That's as much elemental mastery as I have on my official, with the stringless and an elemental mastery relic on. That's how much I have to invest into elemental mastery to get this much. I have to invest not only a weapon, but an entire relic. And I'm pretty sure that I only have that much because I have elemental mastery on my feather. And it's a good amount as well. I had like another 70 on my feather. This is pretty predatory, if I'm being honest. It's not exactly the thing that I like to see on my games. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening. I'd prefer it if they were to take the safer path and begin changing the way that it works right now, which is... See, here's the thing. I want to say that that's the smart thing to do, but from a business standpoint, it isn't. But I'm still gonna hope that it happens. We'll see. We'll see. There's still a couple things that I want to talk about, and I don't want to get too dragged down on the negative aspects, which still need to be talked about. I just don't want to get dragged down right now because I really don't have the time for it. This probably requires its own stream. They cramped weapon power creep up to 11, yes, 100%. Quick question, if you have a Shangling at C6 and a C6 special, and the Ammo's bow, is Child a smart pull? Ooh, that's a difficult one. Just having a C6 special already tempts me to pull a Child. Because I can tell you, it works really well. It works really, really well. If you have the Ammo's bow as well. Yeah, honestly, Child seems like a very strong character for you to have. It, that would sound like an insane team. That actually sounds like a ridiculous team. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move on. Let's talk about the events we're going to be getting in 1.4. We've talked a little bit about the weapons. We've talked a little bit about the weapon banner that we're also going to be getting. I would recommend that you do not try to go into the weapon banner, if I'm being honest. The weapon banner is just absolutely horrendous. I would not recommend that in the slightest. If you're going to go into the weapon banner, do so entirely on free-to-play resources. Do not even bother spending money for it. It is just not worth it. Not worth it in the slightest. But yeah. Before we go into that, let's go into the actual events, shall we? We're going to be getting something called the Invitation of Windbloom, which is one of those really nice events that give you a lot of resources, and I love these because they make it so much easier to level up my characters. And it does seem like they've gone through quite a bit of a learning phase from the previous events that we've had, and it seems like they're going to be going more of a minigame route this time around, rather than the Lantern Rite, which was a lot of quests. A lot of quests. I don't mind quests, but let's all be real here. The Lantern Rite got very repetitive very quickly. It doesn't seem like we're going to be getting that here in the Invitation of Windbloom. It looks like they have multiple mini games that we get to play. This is one of the ones that they showed off, where you have like a bit of a skill challenge where you have to run through a bridge, collect a couple things, and avoid bubbles in order to get to the end of a goal. We also saw that we're going to be getting things like rhythm games, which I'm all down for. I'm not a fan of rhythm games, but I'd rather have them than not. So there's definitely going to be one of those events that's just really, really nice. A very chill event where you have very small mini games. We're probably going to be getting a couple quests that are going to be introducing us to a couple characters, and I'm kind of I'm kind of looking forward to this event, if I'm being honest. It's small things like these that do keep you coming back into Genshin. And the rewards, they look very nice. I'm pretty sure that this one is going to be where we also get the new 4-star weapon, the one that's the one that gives elemental mastery. That weapon is probably going to be the best weapon for Amber, if I'm being honest. I don't think I want that weapon in anybody else. Maybe Ganyu, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather have anything else than Ganyu. Then again, it is a rank 5 weapon, and it is 100% free, so as a transitionary weapon, this is definitely something really good, especially for new players. If you can play custom music, oh my god, that's gonna be amazing. If you can play custom music, I can already see, yeah, the Osu guys. They're gonna put so many, they're gonna put so many songs into Genshin, and it's gonna be amazing. The Rickroll song is the first one that's gonna be made, and you know it. You hope they Rickrolls in the rhythm event. That would be funny. That would be really funny. But yeah, this is just a very nice festival that I'm looking forward to. A good chance to get books, a good chance to get XP, another Crown of Windside. I've never used a single one. I don't have the resources, the Mora, or the time for that matter. Still nice to collect though. We're gonna get to use them eventually. This is not the only event that we're gonna be getting, however. We're also gonna be getting something called the Contending Tides event, which looks like it's gonna be some sort of arena challenge, which is actually pretty nice because I've been wanting abyss-like challenges where you just have to fight multiple enemies and just keep on going until you can't. I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna be what this is. This does seem more like abyss challenges, just on a different location. This is just another nice event that gives Mora, EXP, and different scrolls, and it's something else to do. I'm never going to complain about these types of events. They're just really nice all around. Just imagine Venti playing Never Gonna Give You Up. Yes. Yes, please. I need that so bad. But yeah, this is just a really nice event. There's very little to talk about this one. It's just EXP. It's just Mora, Primal Gems, and you go around fighting multiple enemies in an arena. I'm interested in this one because I feel like they have a chance to do very different challenges to the ones that we see in Abyss, and more than likely, this might actually be a precursor to what we're going to see from the new Abyss. That's what I'm thinking that this is, just because of how much they've been showing a lot of different things. This is probably going to be a taste of what we're going to be seeing in the future. So I'm gonna keep an eye open on this particular event. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move over to the more interesting things, shall we? We are going to be getting Genshin Date Simulator. I'm going to go ahead and repeat myself. We are going to be getting Genshin Date Simulator. Yeah, the second time doesn't sound any better. I still can't believe that this is actually happening. I mean, I 100% believe that this was going to happen. I just didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. So yeah, essentially the way that this is going to work is we're going to be having multiple characters, and we're going to be guiding different quests similar to the one that we had with Jean, but they're going to be more text heavy. And we're going to be getting multiple options that we can actually tell the character that we're going on a date with, and we can get multiple endings. And every time that we get an ending, we get a picture of us with that character. This is actually really fun. It looks like something that's going to be really interesting, and you know for a fact who I'm going to be using my keys to go for first. Let's be real here. Anybody that has been on the Discord knows who my favorite is. There's no way I'm not gonna go for Bennett. Okay, I can't even say it as a joke. It's gonna be Noelle. It's gonna be Noelle. But yeah, the characters we have right now are Barbara, Noelle, Chongyun, and Bennett. They've said they're gonna be adding more into the future, and it's actually really nice. It's a really good way of adding the characters into the world, which I know was a big complaint of the Lantern Rite Festival, where the characters don't feel like they're an actual part of the world. This is probably gonna be it's probably gonna be one of those ways of them fixing that. Introduce the characters more into the world. So I'm really happy for this one. It's gonna be fairly nice. We're definitely gonna be streaming this 100%. 100%. It also seems like we're gonna be getting rewards for this, which is very, very good. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move over to the next one, shall we? The other event that I'm going to be keeping a very close eye to is going to be the Oceanid event. Wishful Drops. Reckless Palette. Why is Chongyun in Mondstadt? I'm pretty sure that Chongyun is actually not in Mondstadt. Pretty sure he is in... I'm pretty sure you meet him at the rock pass that goes to Leeway. He might be visiting Mondstadt, though. I'm not entirely sure how his quest is going to be. I think it's going to be similar to when we first met Mona. That's more than likely what we're going to be seeing. The reward is the journey we had. I can't wait to push him off the ledge. I do not condone any pushing of Bennett or Chongyun's of the edge. I do, however, will find it hilarious. Nonetheless, Wishful Drops. I know a lot of people are going to love this event because they're going to be fighting their favorite boss ever, the Oceanid. Probably one of the best designed bosses with no problems whatsoever. Oh boy. So yeah, we're going to be having an event based around the Oceanid. I know the Oceanid is not the best boss to fight for a lot of people. They are very annoying. They do seem to be changing up the moveset a little bit to make it less so. You're also going to be able to attack the Oceanid directly this time around, which might actually make the fight a lot easier. It's going to be interesting to see how... they do this fight. I actually do like the Oceanid quite a lot, but I also have a C6 special, so I am very, very, very biased. So, yeah. I'm actually kind of excited for this one, because we're going to be getting a new pet. And the little Oceanid does look very adorable. It definitely got me, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be trying to get that thing, for sure. It's also a very good way of getting XP scrolls, because we're going to be getting free fights for the Oceanid, and this particular version of the Oceanid is going to be dropping experience. And it seems like this experience, at least from what we saw, was actually fairly high. It looks to be around the same thing that we had on the Leyline Overflow, if not slightly higher. So this is definitely going to be a good chance to level up characters in a very quick manner, because if you can kill the Oceanid very, very quickly, you can probably finish and get somewhere around like 50 or so just from fighting the Oceanid in like 10 minutes, which would be really, really nice. So we're going to be seeing what we get. I'm always down for harder fights of bosses that we already have. I very, very thoroughly enjoyed the flower fight that we had on Dragonspine. That was probably one of my favorite fights. And when you had to fight the cubes, I had a lot of fun with those as well. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the Oceanid. I'm hoping for a harder fight. I'm hoping for a less annoying fight. We'll see what we get. Oh, another quick thing that I got reminded of. We're going to be getting a lot of quality of life things as well. Probably the most important one is the condensed resin cap got lifted up to 5. It's a small change, but it does allow us to save more condensed resin, which is always going to be a good thing. Again, doesn't quite fix the resin issue, but at this point, it's whatever. Having more resin, I'll take it. But, anywho, let's go over to probably the thing that I am the most excited for, and the thing that I'm probably going to be talking quite a lot. Also, the thing that we have the least information about. Marvelous merchandise! Of course, let's go ahead and ignore that one. Outland Gastronomy. Outland Gastronomy. This is... Alright, so my time has now been limited to 10 minutes. So, unfortunately, no Q&A this time around, but... Outland Gastronomy. Let's go ahead and talk about this one. We know nothing about this because they completely ignored it during the presentation. The only thing that we have is this picture right here. And honestly, that is good enough for me. This is the... This is an event that they did not talk about in the slightest, but based on the fact that it appeared in the English livestream, it means that we're going to be getting this. And these are the skins that I imagine are going to be the first skins that we're ever going to see in Genshin. These skins have been leaked for a while, and at the beginning we thought they were going to be linked to a Kentucky Fried Chicken event that they have. That event is currently ongoing in China, if I'm pretty sure. And if you go into Kentucky, you can buy a specific pack that they have, and they give you a code for a glider. This will be released in June and July. Thank you for that information. I know absolutely nothing about this other than the fact that they mentioned it on the live stream, on the English live stream, which means that if they're advertising it, we're probably going to be getting it. Oh, they talked about it on the Facebook page for Global? Perfect. If you know any information, please go ahead and tell me. I know nothing about this other than I'm excited and I want that Noelle skin. So yeah, I want this. I want this really bad. I have no idea how I'm going to get it. If I have to go to MiHoYo HQ and get a code directly from them, I will. The one thing that we do know is that it appears like we're going to be getting recipes as the rewards. And thanks to information from Mito, this is supposedly going to be released in June or July. And it also looks like we're also going to be getting the Wind Glider. Interesting. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I'm curious when we're going to be getting the skins, and I'm curious as to how we're going to be getting the skins. We have very little information on this, other than the fact that they have showed this particular picture. And let's be real, you don't go through the problem of redesigning characters in this way and then advertising them like this on a game that has already a system for skins without having the skins at least prepared, or at least in development. So more than likely, these are going to be the first skins that we're going to see, and I'm really interested for this. KFC event with Timmy as the final boss. Please. That would be amazing. I get to get a Noelle skin and kick Timmy? Yes, absolutely. So this is probably going to be the thing that I'm going to be looking forward to the most. June or July has been the estimated thing that has been given, which seems reasonable. This was at the end of the live stream, and assuming that every single one of the events that we've seen so far is going to be a 2-week interval, it would make sense that this would lie in July or June, one of the two. As far as the characters that are actually getting skin, Noelle, yes, absolutely, please, thank you. The more important one, Diluc. These two characters, I'm not sure how we're going to be getting the skins. And I am both terrified, hopeful, and interested in how they're going to do this. Because there's a lot of ways that you can go about adding skins into Genshin in particular. And we're definitely going to need to keep an eye on how MiHoYo does it. Because if this is part of their KFC promotion, it could end up being a code that we have to get from a KFC store, which would make sense. It could also be a regular event where we get these skins for free. And then the glider is the thing that you have to go into KFC for. That's what I'm hoping. It's probably not what's going to happen. Another thing that I can see happening is that we get the event and then we get packs similar to the ones that we have in the store already, which we buy with the crystal gems, and then they give us the skin. This is the route that I'm hoping doesn't happen, but it's more than likely going to end up being what we're going to be seeing for skins in the future. And if it does happen like that, I expect that you're not only going to be getting the skin, but maybe even the character for the skin, or at least one of them. These are the 3 paths that I'm expecting. For these 2 skins in particular, they're probably going to be event skins. These are going to be the first skins in Genshin. It's unlikely that we're going to have to pay directly for them. We're either going to be getting them from promotional material from KFC, or we're going to be getting them as a global event. Those are the 2 things that I'm expecting. Skins going forward, however, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they're going to be going about it. The version that I mentioned is probably the one that's gonna be the most likely, where they're gonna bundle up the character plus the skin for a particular amount of money. How much money, I do not know. But that's more than likely what we're gonna be seeing. They're definitely gonna try and milk us every way possible. If I'm being honest, if they want to do it in the best way possible, they would probably have these skins as like the first skins as part of an event, and then from there on out, once they refine the system, once they get and once they see the player feedback from it, they're probably going to start adding them to the store. That's what makes the most sense. I don't think it would be a smart idea to release skins immediately as just a buy thing. Which is why I'm thinking that this event is going to be the way that it is. We're either going to be getting them through promotional material, a code from KFC, or we're going to be getting them as part of a global event. I'm hoping global event. I'm expecting code from KFC. They can't give a character skin if you don't have a character. Yeah, that is true. That is also true. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. I'm honestly not sure how they're going to do it. But if they can't give the skin without a character, does that mean that we're going to be getting our Diluc fried chicken that comes with a free Diluc? That could be interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. I'm legitimately not sure. I think what makes most sense to have an event and then just ease up people into it. There's also like the psychological part, because here's the thing that I'm expecting. Whenever this event releases, the Diluc banner is going to be active. I will tell you that right now. Whenever this event releases, the Diluc banner is going to come alongside it. That is not going to be a question. That's just going to happen. So yeah. That's likely what we're going to be seeing. She did not get a full character, taller character with a chicken bucket. Who knows? They might actually. It depends on the promotional material and how they do it. If you do, it's probably going to be a very expensive package. We just know very little about this event, and that's one of the reasons why it's so interesting. Because depending on how the results for this event is going, we're going to be seeing how MiHoYo wants to monetize this game. Which is why I want to bring so much attention for it. Because this particular event is going to show us a lot of the future things for Genshin. Which is why I want to pay so much attention to it. This is very clearly going to be their first cross-promotional material. And it's definitely going to be the one that's going to set up a lot of the tone for how they're going to be doing promotional material going forward. And what we can expect to see. Now buy the new exclusive Genshin menu with 1 chicken wing and a new KFC Deluxe skin. For only $200. People would buy it. People would buy it. The reaction to it has been overwhelmingly positive because the skins look so good. They look amazing. I'm still worried how they're going to do it, though. If it's implemented poorly, this could end up blowing up in their faces. This is one of the reasons why I want to put so much attention into this. Also, I love the Noelle skin. Can you please just get me this? I have no idea how. I just want it. But I'm biased. If it's something ridiculous, I won't roll for this. I'm just gonna say that right now. If they put this in a gacha, I will not roll for this, even for Noelle. So I'm hoping it's gonna be something nice. I'm hoping that they're gonna be doing it in a tactful manner, and I'm hoping it's not gonna be something ridiculous. But we're gonna have to see what it does. They're probably going to do it like Azure Lane does. They have a collab with Pizza Hut, and it's a code that you get by purchasing something from Pizza Hut. That's what would make the most sense, yeah. I imagine that it's going to be something similar to that. That's what I'm expecting. But there's a lot of things that we can see from here. And based on their actions, it's going to be fairly simple to see what MiHoYo wants to do. But with that, that is pretty much everything that I want to say, and I have like 2 minutes remaining before I have to pretty much go into overdrive mode. I do think I'm gonna have to end the stream right here. There were a couple things that I want to talk about. That's probably gonna have to wait for the next stream, however. To everybody here, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Expect to see more videos in the future, at least at the end of March. I'm probably going to be going on a bit of a silent streak for a couple weeks, but I'm not dead. I can guarantee you that much. And I'm going to try to ramp up. I'm going to try to ramp up content production by the end of the month, hopefully. With that out of the way, though, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing if you're not already. This has been Portals. Out.